gave up on every single person on that bench. You just quit on them. Like, what are you staring them down for? They didn't give up. You gave up on them.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Targeting Podcast, boys.
Yes, sir.
How are we doing today?
Wonderful.
Doing great, my man. It is good to be here.
Love to hear. I went back to Virginia. Justin's now in Boston. And so John's back home too. So I'm sad. I want to see my boys. But
Facts, man.
Yeah. John, you have break, right?
Technically, we don't. But I came home because
Yeah.
my Catholic needed to come home for Easter.
Exactly.
No, I just need to go home. I just need to go home.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have any days off.
Yeah. It was awesome to see you guys in person, though. It had been forever. So I know we gotta definitely. We have big things planned for the summer, including stuff with targeting. So make sure you stick around because
they should stick around. Summer. Yeah. We the boys had a good time in Boston. Justin actually went to the Kings game. How was that?
Pelicans game. Yeah, I know.
Pelicans, sorry. I keep thinking it's the Kings. Sorry. Yeah.
No, all good. Yeah. Crazy game. It was, let me tell you, it was so great to just be back in NBA Stadium. Like, being in the Garden was so fun. It's only 12% capacity right now, but it was electric. And down the stretch, when we were down big in that game all night, like 15-20 the entire night. And then we brought it all the way back in the fourth quarter to within 3. We were down 6 with inside a minute. Jason Tatum hit this step to the side 3 over Steven Adams. That was just the most disgusting thing you'll ever see. And I felt like the Garden was full. It was so electric. It was so much fun to be in there.
So people were loud?
Oh, yeah. It got loud. It got rowdy for sure. And even though we didn't end up pulling it out, we lost again. Another just brutal loss for the Celtics this year. It's just the same thing over and over. We get down big, we come back, and they can't finish it off. I feel like I'm getting deja vu.
How did we start off so strong and just end up like this? Jesus Christ.
It's tough. It's a tough year. It's been a tough year. But long story short, it was so fun. It was so fun to be there. It was awesome to be back in the building. And actually, the players were talking about it too. Even though we lost in their interviews, like, man, it was great to have the fans back in the building, having our backs. Like, it's just that's 6 man that you can't compete with. You need to have fans in the building. It was good to be there. Although we lost our first 2 with fans, so we lost.
You know what, Justin? Let me say something on that. It's a hard transition back to fans. You can't just expect them to be just snap like that. I mean, we've struggled all season. I think next year, with fans fully there, we'll kick off the season hopefully strong, because that's the thing. We've been so used to fans not being there that we've just not been able to rely on them. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you got to go in the building, Justin. It looked like I was living through you. I really wanted to be there, but
living vicariously through Justin.
But yeah, so we'll go through player of the week. I can start.
Go ahead.
You guys may not like this.
I know exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
After this, I don't know if you are. After this man's performance last night, I'm going with Jokic.
Okay.
Nice. I like that.
It's a little different, but so
that man could be the front runner for MVP.
So his stats last night. So he went 14, 7, 7. So 7 boards, 7 assists. The prior game against the Clippers last night, and then the Sixers the other night. 21 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists. This man has eyes in the back of his head. Like, I don't understand how he finds the cuts that he does. Like, so last night, they were interviewing Aaron Gordon.
Yep.
Inside the NBA was interviewing Aaron Gordon after the game. And Aaron Gordon was all smiles, like, looked very happy. It was nice to see. And they were asking him, they're like, what's it like to play with a guy like Jokic? And he's like, you literally have to have your hands ready at all times. Like, that dude just, like, he finds you. So last night he was finding Michael Porter. Michael Porter would just fade to the rim, bullet pass, easy 2. Clippers couldn't really deal with it. They couldn't compete. So that is a dangerous team in the playoffs. Like, with that man, like, that is going to be a dangerous team. I'm sorry they lost Gary Harris, but that team.
Hey, it was an upgrade though. It had been a little stale with Gary Harris in Denver. They needed to change up, and I think Aaron Gordon's a perfect one for the reasons you just said. And I did see that interview. He seemed just like could not be more thrilled to be playing with Jokic, because, like, Aaron Gordon's one of the better cutters we have in this league, and Jokic is going to find him super consistently. I think that team. I agree with you. That team is going to be hard to eliminate in a 7-game series. with Jamal Murray and Monty Morris in the backcourt. You'll have Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon on the wing with Jokic up top. Quit playing with that team. I definitely agree with you. That is a scary team.
That team is definitely going to be a team that can last 7 games for sure.
Yeah, they really just, and I was surprised because you see a team like the Clippers struggle against the Nuggets. You wouldn't think that would happen, but Clippers really didn't have an answer. I mean, they could get a bucket on the offensive end, but when it came to defense, they couldn't stop them at all. It was either 2 or 3, and then of course they would miss 1, and then that was it. So yeah, Jokic is my player of the week. That man's scary. He could be MVP in my opinion, but
yeah, he definitely could be.
We'll see.
Actually, on Denver, in that interview, I think it was where he mentioned that he's wearing number 50 because he has the most 50s in dunk contest history. And he was talking to D Wade about it too, which made it even funnier because D Wade's the one who clowned him by giving him a 49 and giving him another loss. But that was hilarious, and I love him in 50. It looks nice. He's looking nice in Denver.
And then Shaq came at D Wade. He's like, weren't you the one that didn't give him the 50? It was good.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a funny interview. John, you want to go ahead with your player of the week?
I was between 3 guys. One of them I'm saving for my what the fuck moment because I feel like it deserves that. So I'm gonna go with D-Book. Go with D-Book and the Suns. The other night when they played, God, I forget. 45 points by D-Book with 4 assists, 4 rebounds.
Yep, yeah, I saw that. Who were they playing that night?
That was 2 days ago, I think.
Was that? Yeah. Either way, yeah. No, crazy night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a big win by them too. That they got the dub. It was
that was the other night against the Bulls. That's right.
The Bulls. Yep. So I mean, again, a big game for them. We saw especially after this whole trade deadline, with teams getting a lot of great players, and I think that's just the Suns have just been competing this year. I'm happy for D-Book. I'm happy for the Suns. I'm hoping that they get a nice run in there. Again, I don't think it's his time just yet. Again, we got the Nuggets and the Lakers already just getting jam-packed with amazing-ass players. And we're getting to that. But I'm going with D-Book for this week.
Yeah, nice. That's a good one. I'm going to move mine to NHL for this week and go with a guy who's leading the team, who's won 5 straight, sitting in 3rd in the East, going with Crosby. Sidney Crosby just continues to age does not affect this man. In fact, he's actually not even that old. It feels like he's been around forever because he came in the league when he was a teenager. But he's been just dominating the league forever, and he's having another great season. He had 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points this week. They went 5-0. They're nice. They're really good. The Bruins played him a couple times this week as well, and got to see firsthand for a full 60 minutes exactly how good he is and continues to be. So yeah, I'll go with Crosby for this week. But
you hear that whole thing with Crosby though and Dubinsky?
Sort of enlighten me a bit because
I'll give you the exact quote.
Yeah, hit me with it for sure.
Listen, Crosby is better than me. I never said he wasn't. He's obviously one of the best ever. It was Ovi versus Sid. None of you played in the NHL and know how hard it is to score goals in the NHL. 724 is insane. Sid just whined way too much, and Ovi just shut up and played hard. And I don't, again, that's arguable, but also coming from Dubinsky, who this guy is just he's a great player, but you don't have Sid or Ovi to be talking shit. So just sit the fuck down. Just sit down.
Right. That's interesting. I actually did not hear that. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, definitely Sid and Ovi have just been the great ones of this era, and in different ways. Like you said, like Crosby definitely won about it, and their personalities are extremely different. But that's interesting.
John,
all right, do we want to move into some March Madness talk, boys? We got the Final Four coming up.
We can. I was going to comment on that. So that's
go ahead. Yeah,
that's an older player, right? That's not a guy currently in the league. If I'm mistaken. Dubinsky.
He's might still be floating around, but he actually might have been retired. Do you know, John? That's a great question.
He's on the last team he was with was Columbus.
He's on the older side, correct?
Definitely on the older side. Either on his way out of the league or maybe still hanging around.
I just have
he's 34. He's still with him. He's 34.
I just have a problem with older players. This applies mainly to retired players, but goes the same way. Older players speaking against younger players that are just performing well. I just don't understand. I get it from Shaq does it a lot. You see on NBA TV where he'll just absolutely shit on like all the centers, like for no apparent reason. Like Jokic will put up a great game. I'll be like, yeah, but he's still slow, and if I was in the league, like he wouldn't be getting to play. Like,
Yeah.
Like, and the same thing goes with this issue where Crosby's just lighting it up in the NHL. Like, and you're not doing that. Like, why are you speaking out against it? I don't know. I just don't really
Right.
But go ahead.
Again, there is a whole thing with Sid being a little bit of a, I'm not going to say it because the last person who said it actually got fired from their job, but I'm not going to say it. I don't know if you heard of that story. It was way back when.
Yeah, I remember that. Well,
I'm not going to say it, but
I mean, there's the narrative around him is that he's like sort of a whiner, a little bit of like a crybaby type guy. Like
I will say I hated when he went at Chara that one time. Remember that way back when? You remember that when he picked a fight and Chara said, "Let's fight," and then he was like, "Oh, no."
Yeah." Well, I mean that's his loss. You don't want to fight. You don't want to take on Chara. That's just a death wish.
But that's just don't talk shit with Chara if you don't want to end up taking him on after when he finally wants to.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always had a lot of respect for Crosby. I've seen it firsthand, the crybaby tendencies at times, but I've never let that get in my way of respecting him as a player because he is incredible.
He is honestly the second best player in the NHL throughout the years. Connor McDavid, again, good, but I think he needs to have a little bit of a longer career to prove that over Sid the Kid and OV. But that's, again, it is true. OV and him have always had different personalities. Always been the quiet guy who just says shit when he needs to. And Sid's a little bit more talkative, a little bit more out there on the ice. But that doesn't take away from both their games. I mean,
performances. I just don't think it takes a lot.
OV's the sniper. Sid's the sniper and the playmaker. They both make it. They both get shit done. And
in fact, I wouldn't want to be put in a position where I have to pick which one of them has had a better career. I don't know what I could say, because while Ovi has been putting up all the scoring numbers and putting up points all these years, for all those years that Crosby was winning cups in the 2010s and stuff in the 2000s, Ovechkin was getting eliminated in the first, second round. The Washington Capitals were like the fucking choke city. Like they choked every year. They were like known for choking every single year with Ovechkin until I know they obviously got that one against Vegas 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 2 years ago. But Crosby's been a champion and an incredible scorer. Like, I don't know who I'd have to, but Ovechkin's one of the best scorers the game has ever seen. But I wouldn't want to pick who's better. I don't know what to say.
But it's also, I think, honestly, and we'll move on in a second, I think Pittsburgh had the playoff caliber team. Fleury was the goalie who would have a good season and an unbelievable playoff run. Holtby was the one that would have a phenomenal regular season and would choke during the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. Well, those Capitals teams were pretty loaded all those years too.
I'm telling you, I think it came down to the goalies and the defense. The offense could perform, but the defenses couldn't.
So do you guys think a player's team performance indicates how, like, his story?
Well, I'll tell you right now, in a skills challenge,
legacy.
I can't tell you. I could tell you who could win faster, and I could tell you probably who could win a better shot and slap shot. But I couldn't tell you, if you put those two on the ice on a one-on-one, who would end up winning in a 10-goal situation. Because that's just like, it's so based on the situation. I mean, both of them are such great players.
I think when you're comparing players within a season, like one period of time, one season, rings doesn't matter because you're looking at the quality of play you're getting from them in a particular year. When you go to compare two players' legacies, their careers, rings absolutely do play a factor. You go to Sidney Crosby, and I believe it's 3 rings. There's a chance it could be 4, but I'm almost 100% sure it's 3 rings. Look at him, he's got 3. And you look at Ovechkin, and he's got 1. I'm sorry, no matter that's a thing. I mean, you can't just ignore that. Rings do matter. I mean, I think it's tough because you try to do the same thing across every sport, comparing eras, or even just comparing players is such a common thing. And I mean, we do it. We're a sports podcast. We do it all the time, but it's so tough to do because there's no criteria. There's no rules when you're doing it. Like, what is more valuable than other things, like point numbers versus wins versus rings versus it all matters. And like, you look at a guy like Bradley Beal, who doesn't get much respect, with the exception of this particular season. He might probably be on an All-NBA team as an all-star starter. He did get some respect this year, but before that, his team wasn't winning games. You couldn't even try to compare him, even though he's scoring more than some of these guards on the your top tier teams, he just wasn't winning games. So he wasn't even compared to them.
That's why I was just curious because like you see guys like Beal and Lillard and like they're putting up numbers, but it's not really translating to. I mean, Lillard's obviously won playoff series, but it's not translating to any long-term like championship success. So I just think it's interesting. Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, no, I agree with you with the Lillard thing. It's just let me give you a situation here too, and we'll move on. Connor McDavid came in the league 2016.
2015 draft, I think.
2015. So he's been in the air for he's been there for a solid time.
5 years, I'd say.
5 years, yeah. Connor McDavid was named captain the year after he came in. The year after, right? Crosby was named captain in 2007. He was in the 2006 draft, I believe.
That sounds right. Yep.
I think so. Crosby ended up winning a cup 3 seasons into his career. 3 seasons. He was the youngest captain named at the time and led his team to a cup in 2009. Then he led him back in 16 and 17. Connor McDavid's been in the air 5 years and hasn't led him to even one winning season.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna point out, Jerry, that Connor McDavid is a great player. He probably is a good captain. You know, whatever he's probably the best player on the team. That's why he gets captain, in my opinion. But you can't argue that Crosby led a team at the age of like 19 to a Stanley Cup run, or not 19, but he was like probably 20 by that point, to a Stanley Cup and won. And then he's got 3 now. Connor McDavid honestly could probably beat him in a race, could probably beat him in shooting now and dangling, whatever. But that is like flying fucks going all over the board because no one looks at that at the end of the day because Crosby could still lead a team better than McDavid. So in a career situation, that's another thing that makes a player as a leader.
I think you just need to be more specific on what constitutes as like you have to be very specific.
No, it's a gray area. Like, when we talk about it, we have to specify.
Yeah, so for Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, you have to be like, all right, well, which one is a better team leader, and then which one is a better individual player? Like they can just do more on.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what I was just saying a minute ago too, is how comparing players within one season versus their entire resumes, their overall careers. Because I'll be the first to admit, right now, as great as Crosby is this year, and the Oilers still continue to find a way to lose games, and maybe we'll miss the playoffs again. Like I just don't understand why they can't put together wins. But I will take Connor McDavid over Crosby right now. I mean, I'll just be honest because he is much younger and stuff. But it's just when you're comparing, and McDavid is the best player in the league today. So I mean, it's just tough. It's all relative. It's definitely you just have to have reasons for backing up.
And you just got to say, like, are you taking Sidney in his prime, or are you taking Sidney now? Are you taking Connor?
Because that's what it is. Obviously, right. Crosby in his prime is different.
Personally, probably I'm going to take Crosby in his prime over McDavid right now.
Oh, yes, I would as well. But
if we're just saying Crosby and McDavid, you're looking season. Like if you just say that, you're looking in the year.
He's just saying
specified otherwise.
He's just saying
right. So I think that's what we have to. I think that's what we should go off from now on. If you say so and so and so and so, you're going based on the time period,
or just at least be specific on what you are exactly going through. But we can move on now.
We can move on. I think we do, but that's just a big important thing that I think we have to point out.
Yeah, my bad. So let's move on. NCAA.
No, I think that was a good conversation.
Final
Four. So UCLA, Gonzaga, and Houston, Baylor.
All right, so we got two. We got 2 in here. 2 that we had. So we're still alive, boys.
Baylor and Gonzaga. Yeah. I'm not very proud of it though. I feel like those are the easy ones.
So
I'm pretty disappointed in my bracket.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy Baylor and Gonzaga are in it. I just feel like those are like pretty easy, especially Gonzaga. I'm
gonna hear honestly.
You have to watch a lick of basketball and you could have guessed Gonzaga. So
I'm gonna say right now, and I'm gonna hear some bullshit from you two, and I don't want to hear it, but. When I was looking at the side of the bracket that Houston was on, I was like, oh, Houston had a couple good seasons. And I was thinking to myself, will they make it? They're 2 seed. They look good. And then I was like, no. I'm going to stick with
always disappoints. I
didn't go with them because I thought they would actually lose early on. I actually thought they were going to lose to Rutgers. I'll be honest with you, when that game happened. I thought they were going to lose to Rutgers, and they've just pulled it out. We talked about that.
They barely won that game. They had to go on like a 14-4 run to close, and they won by 3. That was close. They were down big. So we want to run through that matchup first, Baylor versus Houston.
Let's go for that one, unless Jerry's got a question on the other one.
I'll question after. So Baylor, Houston, I got Baylor. I don't know how you.
I mean, I think we just have to say Baylor. I don't think Houston.
Justin, you have Baylor?
I do. Yep.
I just think Baylor's
confidently
dominating
too.
I don't know how Houston's here, to be totally honest. Like the first 2 rounds that they played, they looked like dog shit. It didn't even look like they were going to win the game. So, and then the other two, like they've been playing better, but it still hasn't been like that solid of a win, where I feel like they're waiting to face a team like Baylor. And I just think this game could be a blowout, to be totally honest with you. Like it's one of those where I just don't know how they're here. The matchups that they faced, they almost lost to Rutgers. I don't think they played that well against Syracuse, to be totally honest. I thought Syracuse had that game locked. And then the Oregon State was like, I think Oregon State just kind of got burned out towards the end.
Yeah, I think they did burn out. I think it's interesting that you say it like that, because you're right. I mean, you look at the run they've gone on. They've played in their 4 wins are 15 seed Cleveland State, 10 seed Rutgers, 11 seed Syracuse, 12 seed Oregon State. They haven't played a single digit seed yet, and they're going up against the 1 seed in Baylor, who have not lost a game they are just confidently
just rolling over teams.
Here's the other thing with Houston is, now, again, Rutgers and I think Oregon State played phenomenal basketball.
Yeah, and that is not to say anything negative about those teams, because those teams were all on a roll as well, but they were all double-digit seeds.
But also, like, it was expected that Houston would win. And I actually bet against Houston against the Oregon State and Rutgers game, because I didn't think they were doing anything special. Baylor is just Baylor this season. Like, that's just Baylor basketball. Gonzaga is Gonzaga basketball. Like, we've seen it in the past, and some years, everyone has said, oh, yeah, Gonzaga will probably make it to the Final Four, and they don't. But this is a season where I am so confident that they could make the championship, both the teams, Baylor and Gonzaga, because this is just that season. It seems like.
They only beat Rutgers by 3, and that game was close.
Oregon State, they won by 6.
And they only won by 6 because Oregon State went on a run at the end of the game. The Syracuse game, they beat Syracuse by 12, but the scoreboard does not show.
Syracuse was a very strong team.
What happened on that game? Because Syracuse was playing well. Syracuse just was not hitting shots for some reason. Like if they hit half of their shots,
they pulled an OSU. OSU.
Yeah, if they were hitting half their shots, they would have won. But anyway, the only solid game they won was against Cleveland State. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard of Cleveland State before. So to go into face Baylor, who looks very good. Like,
dude, they've rolled through 3. They haven't played a single digit seed over there in Houston. And Baylor's rolled through 3 single digits in 9 seed Wisconsin, 5 Villanova, and 3 Arkansas. They've rolled through them with ease.
They look good. Usually Baylor shits the bed for some reason, like on the way. So I was a little like hesitant, but they're just rolling over teams. I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those games where, like, I think Villanova had one like a couple of years ago where the Final Four matchup, like, it was a blowout. And I would not be surprised if this was like a 20, 30-point win for Baylor. I'll call it right now.
I wouldn't be either. I actually think Houston, again, I hate to say it because Houston, I'm not saying Houston's a bad team, but you just got to look on, like, I don't think it's going to be a bad blowout, but like, I think it's going to be like,
I think it's going to be bad.
I think it's going to be like 85-60.
Here's why. Because when you face those shitty teams, like most college teams, this could be biased in me, but most college teams, in my opinion, they play down. They play down to what their level. So do I think Houston's probably a better team than they're showing right now? Yeah, but they're facing like Syracuse, they're facing Oregon State, Rutgers. So when you're so accustomed to that level of basketball where you can kind of just play to a certain level and then win, they're going to be used to that. Whereas Baylor, they're going to have to play probably well above what they're capable of to beat Baylor.
Yeah, so Houston's played literally.
So I just think they're going to be accustomed to all right, we can get down a little, then we'll come back, and then we can keep it dicey for the last 5 minutes, and then we can push. Because that's what they did against Oregon State. Oregon State, they had like locked, and then Oregon State came back, and then they were like, all right, we got to turn it on.
They did that against Rutgers too.
Yeah, that's not going to be the case against Baylor. If Baylor is not a team, they're going to just roll you over.
They've actually, you're right. They've played that way against every single team, really. I mean, Syracuse is a little
Syracuse the same thing.
Syracuse was the same thing, but Syracuse didn't play the game that you would have expected. But Baylor is a team that when you step on that court, in the first 2 minutes, if you do not play stellar defense, if you do not capitalize on free throws, shots in the beginning, it will be a 10-2 game in the beginning. And from there, Baylor will just roll out 16 points each run that they can get, back and forth up the court. And Houston, it's going to be one of those situations, I feel like. Because I'm looking, I just looked too. You're right, Cleveland State, 15 seed. I never even heard of them. I just looked and I was appalled. And then
they still gave up 56 points in that game. So you can't really do that. I mean,
I said it at the beginning of our first March Madness episode, but I like the reason I like this Baylor team so much and I'm so confident in them is because depth, playmaking, and 3-point shooting is how you win college basketball games. In college basketball, it's been the formula for championship teams for years now. Is depth, ball movement, and playmaking. I mean, depth, ball movement, and floor spacing, and that's what they do. That's what they do.
No, so they've been playing well, and I think
it's incredible
when they've been playing this well. I mean, Houston might somehow pull it out, but Baylor's going to have to miss all their shots, and I think even then it's going to be a close game. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, Baylor has literally played. I mean, if you just look at it, Baylor's played what?
They've had a tough road. They have not had an easy road.
And they didn't crush them. But they won. They played Wisconsin. They've played.
Plus, the seeding was weird. So a lot of those teams were it felt like they should have been higher, or I don't know. It was a weird.
Again, I think the seeding was a little weird this year, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can move on to Gonzaga, UCLA.
This one I feel like is going to be a better game for sure. I like UCLA a lot. I like them a lot. They were really nice. I'm high on them. I wish they weren't playing Gonzaga because I'm finally on board with them and being I kept thinking for the past few games, I do like UCLA. They're good, but they're probably going to lose this one. Their run will probably stop here. And it just hasn't. They've plowed through 2 seed Alabama, 1 seed Michigan. Now they get another 1 seed in Gonzaga. It's definitely tough, but I don't know if I could take them in this game.
Yeah, so
because this is definitely the hardest matchup that they've faced, even though they have taken out a 1 and a 2 seed already. But I do like them. I think it'll be a good game. I do think Gonzaga probably will win at the end. But
so I'm sad to say because I say it because I had Michigan and I really wanted to come on this podcast and tell you guys to go fuck yourselves.
I'm surprised they went that far, though. I'm surprised they went that far.
Yeah, I was not, but it's tough. But anyway, so UCLA has been putting up a magical run. I think if they win the tournament, they'll be I don't think a team's ever a playing team has ever won the tournament ever. I don't think
that's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, I believe heard. I mean, maybe UConn one year because they were an 8 seed, I remember, but I don't know. So that would be crazy. This is definitely going to be their toughest matchup by far. I think, to me though, hear me out. If they win this game, I think the tournament's theirs. I don't see how they don't win.
Well, they'll have to take down 3 1 seeds in a row if they lose this one. And if they win this one, they get 1 seed Baylor next. That'd be their 3rd straight 1 seed.
But hear me out. You guys have said it. I don't believe this, but you don't think Michigan's a true 1 seed, at least not with Livers. So are we really counting that? No. And Gonzaga's undefeated. So that is a real 1 seed. I still count Baylor as a real 1 seed.
No doubt.
But
hey, and a 1 seed's a 1 seed. And the week before was a 2 seed Alabama. This has been a crazy, crazy hard run. I can see them burning out. I don't think if they win this one, the tournament's theirs.
I think that automatically.
This is going to be such a tough 2 weeks. I'll say right now, 2 games for them if they can win this one.
I'll say right now, if UCLA beats Gonzaga, UCLA has deserved the position to play against Baylor, assuming Baylor wins, which I think we all assume that, in the championship. I think that UCLA is a team that's an 11 seed who's playing against Baylor. I don't think it will be a blowout. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, but I think that if UCLA doesn't play their best basketball, they will get crushed by Baylor. But it's one of those situations where if UCLA beats Baylor and beats Gonzaga, they will be the first team to win March Madness who's a below an 8 seed and a play-in team. And they will be a team that has fully deserved that right to be there. I mean, they will have beaten Michigan, Gonzaga, Baylor.
So I'm curious. Does anyone actually think that UCLA is going to win this game? I'm curious.
I'm going to be all in rooting for them. I think they lose by about 7 or 8.
I'm rooting for them because I'll be honest with you. I would love to see a team like UCLA just win the tournament because they are a great team. I love the way that they're playing it right now. And they've played tough teams, and it hasn't been like, they aren't deserving of these wins. I mean, they beat Alabama, who won their tournament. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Baylor. These teams are beatable. I mean, look at it, too. OSU beat Baylor twice. So Baylor's beatable. OSU did it. Cade did it. So, and again, that's OSU. But OSU fell to Oregon State, who's a 12 seed. So there's really no reason that, by the transitive property. No, I'm kidding. There's no reason that UCLA, if they got there, couldn't beat Baylor.
I think if every person on that team plays their best, Johnny Juzang, Tiger Campbell, that whole team, I think they got.
I will say Gonzaga came off a great game against them.
That. You think they could, Jerry?
Yeah. Just because here's the thing.
I like it. I think they could.
I don't know. The beard on Tine. I don't know. I can't.
They've been playing good basketball. There's no doubt about that. The only problem they've had in a couple of games where it's been dicey is either Johnny Juzang gets into foul trouble and then they don't really have like a true scorer on the floor. But besides that, they've been just playing great basketball. Another problem I have is with undefeated teams. I love undefeated teams. Very cool. But usually what happens is when like they get to a certain point, there's just so much pressure on for them to win. And I don't like Gonzaga because Gonzaga disappoints me every single year. I always pick them going farther than they should, and then they lose, and then I get mad. So,
and let's be honest,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you have a good point about the undefeated situation here. You're playing an 11 seed. They automatically assume you're going to win. It was the same thing with Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts just kept that motivation.
If Gonzaga lost Gonzaga lost one game in the regular season and they were in the same position right now, I'd say no problem. I'd call it right now. But like
that's funny, actually.
The fact that you're undefeated and there's all this pressure on you to just win, especially because it's 11 seed. Like if you don't win, not only are you not undefeated anymore, you just lost to 11 seed. So it's not even like justified in like that. If they were facing like a 2 seed or something like that, or a 1 seed like Michigan or something like that, they could be like, all right, like if they lose, like it's a 1 seed, it's a good team, you just didn't face them. And if they win, they just beat Michigan. Like Gonzaga has everything to lose in this game and basically nothing to win. Like, I mean, obviously they're going to the national championship. That's big. I'm not discounting that, but there's a lot on the line for them here. And there's basically nothing for UCLA. And whenever that happens, I'm scared because like UCLA's got nothing to lose. If they lose, like they made the Final Four. I think the coach made his first Final Four. Like they've done already what they need to do. They have nothing to lose. So who gives a shit if they lose? And they're just going to play almost that much harder because they have nothing to lose. I feel like when you're on Gonzaga, you have all this pressure because you're undefeated. Sorry for ranting, but anyway.
No, I think that's a hell of a point. Well, very well said. I think I agree with everything you just said.
I think that situation that you brought up, and again, I'm going to say it, it's cliche. The whole, we got all this pressure and then the team who can do the miracle run, the underdog. It's cliche, but it's underrated because
it's real.
It's underrated because it's a real situation. I'll tell you right now, when you go out there on the court, on the field, on the ice, and you play a team that you know you should beat, if you lose against that team, there is everything for you to lose. People will come at you. You will be this laughing stock. I mean, it's the same thing for Iowa. Iowa should have won. Everyone was like, Iowa's going to make this great run. That's what I thought, at least, coming in with Luka Garza, the way he played. It's one of those situations.
I think that was a more level playing field than this would be. This would be a more extreme case. But
it is a more extreme case. But what I'm saying is, I agree with Jerry, and I believe that it's underrated.
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I frankly am rooting for UCLA because it's one of those teams that I think.
No, I am too. Yeah.
I just think proven that when they are put in this situation, they play as if they have nothing to lose.
Well, like Justin said, like the whole time we're like, all right, it's up. Like right now, like it's over. Like they're not gonna get past this team, and they do. So like they basically have just been constantly doubted, at least by me. I mean, I bet by a lot of people, and because they're the lower seed, they're an 11 seed. It's not like they're like a 8 or 9. Like even then, you could probably make a case, but they're 11. So been constantly doubted, constantly like, yeah, this is the game they're gonna lose, and then they win. So like at this point, there's not much you can say. Again, Gonzaga's Gonzaga at the end of the day. I'm not discounting. Like, they're undefeated for a reason. Like, that's not like just a fluke. But at the same time, Gonzaga has disappointed me in the past. And I think when you face a team that's got nothing to lose and you have a lot to lose, there's nothing more dangerous. So
I'm gonna go against because again, I would rather be on the side of the team that made the big upset than on the team that, you know what I mean? So my bracket says Gonzaga Baylor. So my bracket says one thing at the end of the day, but I'm personally gonna say Baylor UCLA. That's what I'm gonna go.
Hey, I like it, man. And I will say this about that matchup is if UCLA beats Gonzaga, even if they go on to lose to Baylor, I would take Johnny Juzang in the first 10 picks. Easy. This guy every time send him to Boston. Every time I see this guy, I'm like, this kid is nuts, and he's not gonna go early, really, and he should, and he's not gonna. I feel like he could be.
I hope we get him.
Low key a steal. But
I hope we get him.
The tournament, he wasn't really talked about. At least I didn't hear.
No, he went to Kentucky last year and transferred out because he didn't get any PT at Kentucky. He didn't get any playing time. So yeah, then he transferred to UCLA, and the guy's balling out. He was a top prospect coming out of high school for Kentucky to grab him.
Okay.
And then he's a sophomore now. But either way, love the kid.
He's playing his brains out. Like, he literally just goes out.
Definitely. Yeah, I know exactly.
I will say at the end of this tournament, my player of the tournament will probably be John Juzang. You got to give that to him.
He's playing unbelievable, and we'll see. I mean,
knock on wood for him, and hopefully,
yeah, good for him. But,
I guess while we're on the whole college basketball topic, I will run with my stat of the week here, and it's kind of a wild one. I never would have ever guessed this, but I saw a picture of DeAndre Hopkins in this jersey and was like, "What the hell?" So I had to do some research and found this out. So sophomore year at Clemson, DeAndre Hopkins, the same year he had a 1,000-yard season his sophomore year playing for Clemson football. And he also played for Clemson basketball that year as well. He played 7 games for the Clemson basketball team. He never made a shot, but he played 7 games. But seeing the pictures of him in the Clemson basketball jersey on the court, like playing in an actual Clemson game, is like, what in the world is this? This guy is just a ridiculous athlete. It was crazy to see him like that. But yeah, he's just an insane athlete.
Yeah. I
don't know if you guys had ever heard of that shit. I did not believe that.
At that point, it just seems unfair. Like, can't you give me one of those abilities? Like, you don't have to play both. Like,
yeah, bro, you can't play both.
Yeah, dude, come on, you don't have to. What do you want to play the water polo team now? Come on.
It's just like, it is kind of crazy how much like that translates. Like, especially like, I guess it doesn't completely translate. But like LeBron for a number of years, like I believe out of high school, he was getting offered both basketball and.
Who was the other one that got offered? Was it Patty Mahomes who got offered baseball and football, I think? No, it was Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, for sure.
Kyler Murray did. I think Patty Mahomes actually got offered both as well.
I just can't. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around being really good at one sport, let alone 2 or 3. Like, that just seems
like good enough to make it. Like
good enough to like
college.
Yeah. Like I could be average at all 3, but like
I'm gonna hate myself. Wasn't it Bo Jackson who made?
Yep.
He was another one.
Legend. Football, baseball. Yep.
But yeah, it's just crazy. That's a great start of the week, Justin. Do you guys want to move?
We want to run some NBA talk?
Yeah, let's run some NBA.
Yeah. Can I start off with my what the fuck moment?
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. So it was gonna be my player, but. Just what the fuck up with Russell Westbrook? Come on, I hate how this guy's got 12 triple.
What do you got to say about him? Because this week he's been hooping his mind out. I got to hear what you have to say.
I just want to I'm not saying what the fuck as in like he isn't playing great basketball. I'm saying what the fuck because Russell Westbrook is playing Russell Westbrook basketball. The team sucks and he plays amazing games. So it's just when I saw the points, I was like, damn, and they won. So at least they won. I was happy for that. So
without Beal too.
And without Beal. So I won't give it entirely what the fuck, but I was just like, when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, 35 points, 14 rebounds, 21 assists. Like, against the Pacers too.
Well, and that's like you said, so it's like a reverse what the fuck, because what the fuck is wrong with it's Scott Brooks now. I'm convinced that it's more on the coaching of the Wizards. I mean, their roster is just buns outside of those 2 guys anyways, but the coaching doesn't help. Scott Brooks is terrible. I've seen so many close games when Brad Beal is healthy. So many close games I've seen. I'll turn on the last couple of minutes. and they're down a couple or up a couple, whatever it happens to be. The 3-minute mark hits. Bradley Beal never sees the ball again. I cannot. You can't make this shit up. Garrison Matthews fires 3 bricks in a row, or like it's like you can't make it up. Or Westbrook will just chuck a bunch of threes. It's like what happened? Bradley Beal doesn't touch the ball in 3 minutes. He has 46 points up to that point, and he doesn't see the ball again. Like what?
The thing with that, Justin, is because I'm not defending the coaching here. I think you're right with the coaching. I'm not going to defend it, but I will say this: at some point, Bradley Beal is going to be covered, so he can't make that shot. And even if he can, it's going to be tough. It's going to be contested. And Russell Westbrook, no one's going to guard him because he can't even make a shot, but they'll still have a guy on him. So he'll try to take the shot to be the big player of the game, and then he'll miss it like a brick, and then they'll end up losing. So the situation here in the Wizards is we've seen Russell Westbrook can fit in here. He can win games. If he plays Russell Westbrook basketball, it can work. But they need other players, and they need a better fucking coach.
Do you think they fire Scott Brooks?
I think they need to fire Scott Brooks. I think he's second only to Luke Walton as far as bad coaches in the league go. I do think that he needs to be fired. And I think a fresh start would be big, especially if Beal's going to stay in Washington.
We did take a photo with Luke Walton, but
we did take a photo with Luke Walton, and I'm honestly upset with myself for it because he's such a terrible coach. It was a cool moment, I guess.
It was a cool moment, but I'll say out to everyone out there, he was a dick. He was a dick. He was a dick. That's why I don't feel bad about shitting on him. I had to shove the camera. I had to shove the camera into his bodyguard's hand, and he took a photo. He literally went like this. He was looking around at the top of whatever glass building we were in.
We were in New York City.
Yeah.
So we were. Let's for some context. Okay.
For some context.
Damon and I found him first.
Well,
like we found him, and then we were with people that didn't know who he was. So we had to like explain that to them. We're like, yeah, he's an NBA coach. And then I didn't know a good way to like how do you approach a guy like I don't know. So
you can ask Justin. I just went up and said, "Hey, Luke Walton, can we get a photo?"
So here's the thing. So screw you, John, for that, because I was like, so what happened was David and I got a picture, and we were like, so we got a picture with him. Again, he wasn't the nicest guy. He was kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yep, there we are with Luke Walton. There we are.
I don't know if I have the photo, but anyway.
So his smile was so fake. He literally went back to a kill you.
I'm with Damon. So I'm with Damon, and then you guys were like somewhere else. I don't know where you were. But
Justin had to get something for his parents. I think it was.
I've got you guys as well. There you are, Jay.
Hey.
Oh yeah. All right, then I won't have to pull it up. But anyway, so I remember this so vividly. I went up to Justin and I go, bro, Luke Walton is in the building. Like he's over there. And I'm like, don't freak out. Like, just like, you can ask him for a photo. And I remember John was right behind Justin, and John literally like bolted. He was just like, we're getting a picture. And I was like, just chill, because he was, he was so unapproachable. Oh man.
Oh, he was surrounded by a couple of guards.
I think it was hard to be
low. Was he actually?
I feel like he had a couple, not like actual like guards with like badges. Like they were just like,
No, but I
all black outfits or something, just like big guys standing.
It's hard to act low key when you got 4 bodyguards dressed in all black walking around.
Now that you're making me question that too, what was he? Was he with bodyguard? I don't even remember.
He was with bodyguards. No, because I gave the camera.
No, I don't think he was.
No,
I shook his hand.
There were huge ass guys with him.
Actually, there were definitely.
There were big guys with him.
Because you had the photo.
Huge ass guys with him. I actually looked at Justin before I asked him, and I went, "Oh no, I don't want to ask."
I was shocked how he didn't think he was going to get noticed. Like the dude's 6'6", I think. Like he's
big. He's big.
So I was like, were you expecting not anyone?
So another thing though is he's like not like a 6'6" like Tim Norton. He's like a 6'6" like thick. He's thick.
Yeah, well,
he played in the NBA himself, so he's a big guy.
Right.
I mean,
but another thing that I just didn't like, is just like when we would take when he was walking around, he literally he was walking around. He walked around once after, because I did kind of follow and watch, but he walked around once. He looked around in this glass building where you can see all of New York. He looked around just like this. Then he went, "All right, let's go." I was like, "You paid like $50 to get in here. You looked around for 5 minutes." You probably didn't pay, but still,
also $50 is not whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever it is.
$100 though to get in. He just looks around for a second and leaves. And I mean, he was probably enjoying his day, but I was like, Jesus Christ. He also was just a dick. He was a dick.
Wasn't he?
Who was he coaching at the time?
Wasn't it coaching at that time?
Lakers.
The Lakers.
The Lakers were in the city to play the Knicks. So like we were hearing shit about like LeBron was sighted in New York and stuff, and we were trying to find him too. But when we saw
before that all went down.
But funnily enough, there's no reason anyone would remember this except for me. I don't know why I have like this weird memory. But funnily enough, the next night when that game actually happened, the way that game ended was the Lakers lost with LeBron to the Knicks at the buzzer because Mario Hezonja swatted LeBron right in his face at the buzzer to win the game for the Knicks. It's actually a crazy game. Anyways, that's 3 years ago. So. I still remember that vividly.
Can I just say, I love like remembering big sports moments, but this kid over here just remembers the smallest minute detail. Like he'll come up to me years later. He'll be like, dude, remember that Columbus Blue Jackets Pittsburgh game when Sidney Crosby just did a nice toe drag, sniped it, and Evgeny Malkin went right into the boards? And I just look at him sometimes and I go, yeah. Because I don't fucking know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, Justin, you remember some random ass games. Like if there's one moment where you can be like, yeah, I remember that, then you're gonna remember like that game. It's pretty cool.
Justin, you gotta be a sports broadcaster. I'm telling you, if you don't, I'll be disappointed in you. You won't get my attic,
dude. I'm hoping, man. That's that's the goal.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, well, we can move back on. So
we want to talk about Andre Drummond to LA.
And then
I don't mind it. I think LA is just trying to build a team to basically compete against the Nets. Personally, I mean, I don't think it's just like I don't know.
I know. And now that the Nets also got LaMarcus Aldridge, which is the other big one.
Put up 11 points.
We need to talk about. Yeah, he played well in his debut. He definitely played well. I mean, it's like it can't hurt. Like this is, and they got him on the buyout market again, where they just don't have to pay him anything. Like it can't hurt. It's literally an all-star team.
I think
41 all-star appearances on that Brooklyn Nets team. That team is ridiculous. I'm sorry that team will not be beaten. They are winning the championship. The Lakers can try, and I think bringing in Drummond is nice because he'll get them a lot of second chance opportunities, which that rebounding is huge in the playoffs. That would be really important for them. But I mean, with LeBron and AD, you never know. I will never count out LeBron in the same way I can't count out Tom Brady. LeBron can do whatever the fuck he wants sometimes, but he couldn't against those Warriors.
Really?
He might not be able to against this big three. And not even big three. This is an all-star team.
It really is a Bucks Chiefs situation here. It really is. Super team versus
and it should all these signings just make it more so. It's like it's gonna be Lakers Nets.
you see Aldridge solidifying that for the Nets?
Oh no, I don't think, and I didn't think Blake Griffin solidified that either. But I think the way that this team is just endless at this point, Jerry. Andra, like listen, you got the five we already know. We have Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Blake, LaMarcus. You'll still have DeAndre Jordan. You're gonna have Spencer Dinwiddie, who may or may not be healthy in time for playoffs. I'm not sure. I actually think he won't be, but I could be wrong on that. Joe Harris, Landry Shamet. You've got Jeff Green, Bruce Brown. This team is so good, and Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge being added to it makes it nice. It's nice for sure. I don't think it solidifies it because I think honestly they probably already were solidified. I don't know.
It's just Blake, two more veteran presences on that court. All week, two more veteran guys.
We've had Blake Griffin dunking all week since he got to the Nets.
I know,
he dunked in Detroit.
So
caught an alley-oop, threw it down, stared down the Piston bench. I'm thinking, what are you doing, man? Like, what do you smile? You're smiling, staring him down, thinking like you got it. You gave up on every single person on that bench. You just quit on them. Like, what are you staring them down for? They didn't give up. You gave up on them. Like, they didn't do anything. I don't know. That seemed a little
weird. I think
he was thinking, like, it looked like he was having the biggest revenge game ever when they played the Pistons. He was like angry, it seemed. I was like, what is the matter with you? You gave up on them.
After that, I saw that dunk, and after it, he was like, I'm still here.
He was like, I'm still fucking here or something. Yeah. Like, what? I was gave up on them, my guy.
Yeah, like you didn't really, I mean, you left, obviously, but that was at your own will. No one told you to. Like, it was just weird. I don't know. It looked like
also like, so can we just also acknowledge that he was getting paid $38 million a year to intentionally play bad out there, because since he's dunking, he couldn't dunk for the last 3 years. Now he's throwing the ball down. He's shooting three. Like, this guy was just sitting there making $40 million, stealing $40 million from the Pistons each year, and pretended to be bad. Like,
I feel like he just didn't want to play.
I mean, he didn't, but also you're getting paid $40 million.
Yeah, I don't understand how you do that in good conscience, but I don't know.
But I think those locks by those teams, Lakers and Nets, I think it just solidifies them, just helps them.
Yeah,
I think it's just like a He's just Anakin. Just like fucking went to Palpatine. And now like
Justin's not
I
getting.
wish I knew any of
Justin's
that.
not
I don't
getting.
know any-
Roll with it.
it's just like
Palpatine.
it's like
Cool.
Griffin's Justin's not gonna get any of this, but it's like Anakin. And Anakin
Good, Anakin.
Palpatine's like KD. Palpatine's like KD.
Who's like Anakin?
Blake Griffin's like Anakin.
Oh, okay.
And Blake and
Yeah, I don't know,
Anakin had Obi-Wan, and the Pistons are Obi-Wan. And Anakin basically
Keep going. I love it.
Anakin basically said, "Screw you," and just went to the dark side for no bare reason. He was getting 40 mil.
Justin, can you do me a huge favor for this vid? Can you just search up the Star Wars? I'll help you. I'll help you get the right characters and just put the pictures of the NBA players on there.
I know you
I
don't
might
get
have
it.
to.
So I'm
No,
sorry, but like
No, I like it. I like it. I like the
just
analogy.
seems like it just seems like the Nets are building, like they're not even like a super team I can get behind. Like Warriors, I like as much as I hated KD for it, I could get behind the Warriors. Like that's a fun team. This is just
Because he was the only one that was like the bad seed there. The rest of that, they grew up from within their own organization. Steph, Clay, Draymond, those were
true.
Warriors at heart. They just added KD. This Nets team literally feels like some team name they can slap an all-star roster onto. It doesn't have anything to do with the city of Brooklyn. Nobody can these guys aren't loyal. They're just going to one place together just because it's a place.
What do all those players have in common?
Nothing.
They gave up on their hometown. They gave
Facts.
up.
That's a good. Yeah.
Like that's what all them.
That actually might be a good caption,
Blake
Justin.
Griffin gave up
They're
on
all a bunch
Brooklyn.
of snakes.
Brooklyn,
gave
the
up
team of
on like
snakes.
every
Yeah.
team. KD gives up on like OKC. Kyrie gave up on Boston. Well, I
And
don't know.
Cleveland.
and Cleveland. And fucking Harden gave up on Houston. So it's just like a band of misfits. Not misfits, obviously. They're fucking
Snakes.
Probably
It's
are.
snakes. Is what they are.
No, they're
Call
snakes.
them what it is.
the snakes.
Call them what it is. It's
the
snakes.
dark side, and I hate it. So I mean, it's just annoying, and I mean they're probably gonna win. But at this point, I'm rooting for LeBron, and I hate LeBron. So anyone who can
Low
do
key,
that-
dude. Low key, I'm gonna have to find myself in a position where I'm rooting for the Lakers in the finals.
I don't know how that happened, but I mean,
Yuck.
like,
Yuck.
I mean,
Yuck.
I wish it was some other team that was probably going to compete. Like if LeBron wants to go to the Nuggets, go ahead. I wish it was another team, but
Hey, let me get Dame slip through. Let me let Dame slip through the West this year. Give him a shot. Oh, man.
But
But-
yeah, just
We also had we just had the big Jazz scare with the plane.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard about that, but the Jazz.
What was that?
Did you hear
A
about
bunch
this
of
guy?
birds.
So the Jazz, yeah, they took off from Salt Lake City, and saw this massive flock of birds came at their plane and flew like into the engine, and the engine exploded. It caught fire, and they had to do an emergency landing. All the players were talking about saying they were all getting texts ready to send when they got back to within level of like the towers, so they could send their last text to their family saying like how much they loved them, stuff like it was like they thought they were going to die. They had to do an emergency landing. They turned around and went right back to Salt Lake once the birds flew in, because they were still down to 11th level for birds, obviously. They turned around and came back. I don't know. I didn't hear that it was like a forced crash landing. I don't think it was anything like that. I think they ended up landing on its
They
feet.
got their wheels.
Yeah.
down. They
Got the wheels down. They got the wheels down. But it was just a crazy scare, and all the players they interviewed a lot of them, and Quinn Snyder, the head coach, as well. They were all just like, yeah, I mean, it was a near-death experience. That's what it was. Like we all thought for a minute there that, man, it was over. And Donovan Mitchell actually, right when they had the emergency landing, Adam Silver calls up the team and said, all right, we got second plane now ready for you. Sorry about that. Memphis is waiting for you. You got a game tonight. The rest of the team gets on the plane and goes. Donovan Mitchell stayed back, did not play in that game. He stayed back. He's like, I'm not getting on a plane, because I don't know if you remember, but when he was getting drafted, one of the cons that would come up about him when he was in the 2017 draft class is that he was like terrified of flying on a night-to-night basis. He
Actually,
would always say that when he was a kid. He would
Really?
always say, oh, he had a big fear of flying, and like flying night-to-night was not something he was used to or like looking forward to or getting used to. So so now all those fears are like coming back, I guess. He's obviously gotten used to it in the past 3 years, but he did not get on that plane.
That
and
was his
was
draft
taken-
con.
That was one of the things. Like he would always talk about that, how he was.
I remember that. He said he would
yeah.
rather drive to each game.
That's
he
what he
would
said. He said he would take buses. He would drive.
And the teams-
he
and
didn't
teams were like,
he
"We're
didn't have
not
enough
paying
time
for
to do that for the Memphis game, but It'd be interesting to see if he literally takes buses.
That's actually
around,
a crazy fear. Well, not crazy fear, but like.
But I
For
mean,
an
let's be
NBA
honest
player,
though.
it's
If
not a
that
good
happened to
fear to have.
you,
Yeah,
if that happened to you, and then they said, "Hey,
it's
yeah,
not
we
the
got
best fear
another
to have.
plane." Imagine that. Hey, yeah, we got another plane. Well, yeah, guaranteeing those fucking birds aren't in the area, and I'll get on that plane and go to Memphis.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. Like,
Adam Silver, is that the
That's like
first
a-
thing he
that's
said in
like
his
a-
mouth? Adam Silver doesn't say like, "Hey, you guys okay? You want some food?"
Oh, I mean, I'm sure he did. Obviously,
I mean, that's like I don't know what to compare that to. That's like a truck driver afraid of crashing a truck and only wanting to drive a car. I don't know. It's weird, but I wouldn't
I
blame
know
him
what you
after
mean.
that
You
incident.
actually have a bigger chance of actually like dying.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. If you
Well,
think,
Hey,
usually,
I'm glad it
usually-
doesn't.
I'm glad it doesn't either. But now new fear unlocked. Like I like I don't know. Like I mean,
Well, typically planes get to the altitude at a certain speed, and also, I mean, it is the end of winter, so birds are coming back and forth from, their whole little migration. So, I mean, it's not.
that's so scary though. Like
That's definitely scary. And I know Donovan, like, even throughout, like, he's also, I've heard that he said, like, every single flight, he takes a window seat so he can stare out and see exactly what's going on around him. Every flight, he's always staring out the windows. He's like, and so he was definitely looking right at the wing when it caught fire. He definitely saw that all firsthand.
He's
Right
definitely the first
and
one
the
that
plane, the plane started shaking and stuff. They're saying like, shit went down. Like that's not a fun experience to undergo. I'm
Yeah, I
sure
know.
that's very uncomfortable. So yeah, that was
He's definitely
crazy.
the
But they
first
ended up
one.
going to Memphis and picking up a win. They're 7th straight as they still
they're
continue
playing
to
on
rally
both.
at the 1
Yeah.
seed in the West.
Yeah.
So good for them. Good for them. I'm glad that they're all right.
yeah,
That's a crazy scare.
That's crazy. I personally don't like window seats just because I don't like seeing where I'm at. I'd rather be
Oh, I
rather
love
be aisle.
window seats.
Quick
I've
quick
only had
bathroom.
one.
I know. I'm an aisle guy as well.
Quick bathroom.
I'm a window guy.
Nah, I can't look out and see where I'm at. But that's crazy. I it's weird because like if I ever thought if I was in that experience, I'd be completely screwed. Like you know how they do like the thing at the beginning, and I just have my headphones in. Like I mean, like if that shit gets to that point, like I don't know. What
They're like, "Put on your buckle."
Yeah.
Jerry's like, "What? I missed."
like the oxygen mask. They're like, yeah, help yourself before you help others. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna need someone to help me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Facts.
That's crazy though. But glad they're all right.
So we're sitting at I got a late jump on the timer here. We're sitting at about 52 minutes already though. So
yeah, we can almost
call it
wrap up. Do you have
wrap
anything
it
else?
but-
Do you have anything
All
else?
I was gonna say is IT's getting a new shot with the Pels now.
I do see that. I'm happy for Isaiah Thomas getting back in the league. I don't think the Pelicans
No, you're
is the
not.
right fit.
No, you're not.
Hey, you know what?
Stop
I know
lying.
you know I'm not. But believe me,
Stop
bro.
lying.
Believe me. Listen, I was saying this about a month ago, about a month back.
Call him out, Jerry.
I was
No, you're not.
Charlie Pressure was talking to me about Isaiah Thomas, saying how like Isaiah should come back to the Celtics. And I think he commented on like some Celtics post like I'm available or something like that. Like so, and I was saying, look, at this point, I'm all in. Honestly, I would take it. We need backup point guard minutes, and the ceiling that he would have in short minutes, I would take this point. Obviously, massive defensive liability, which this is not something the Celtics need. But I would have taken him in Boston. But I'm happy he's in the league. I don't think New Orleans is a good fit one bit, though. I don't know, but you got like
It's gonna be.
they
It's
already
only 10
have
days.
Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, Kyra Lewis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They don't really have much room for more guard play, especially at the one spot. But I don't know.
It's just a 10-day contract too.
I know. Well, I think there are definitely other spots he could have been more successful in a 10-day contract, but Pels is fine with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a new thing.
I just don't want you lying on the podcast about the fact that
I promise you. I believe me. I'll
Wanna
be
hold you
honest. I'll
accountable.
be honest and say it right now. I was not Isaiah Thomas' biggest fan. I don't know if I've ever said that on the pod.
Oh,
I was
you
certainly
said
not
it.
his biggest fan. I was certainly not his biggest fan when he was a defensive liability, and when we traded him for Kyrie, I was ecstatic. Obviously, down the road, Kyrie was much worse and was terrible for the team.
Justin just
But
goes,
anyways,
and looking down the road, it was worse.
yeah.
anyways,
All right. Well, we can wrap it up there because I think
we can
we're
call it.
almost at time. But boys, it's been great talking to you this week. So
It has been
Glad-
real, my guy.
sorry we didn't have a ton of content for you guys, but if you made it this far, you always like something. So please like and subscribe.
Let's go Celtics.
Yeah. Pray for the Celtics.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, boys.
Boys,
It's been real.
it's been a good week, and I'll talk to you next week.
Peace.
Peace.